We are
Assalamualaikum
back.
and good afternoon.
We are back, everyone. This is the second half of day 3 of the Digital Skills Week right here at Malaysia Tech Month 2021. With the lockdown and movement restrictions, the operations capacity in the office is also limited. This means that hiring process and talent acquisition has also changed, gone virtual with the HR departments or with the hiring managers. Job seekers called in for an interview on a call via video platforms like Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams has become part of the new norm. So join us as I welcome the next session entitled Preparing for Remote Interviews. Ladies and gentlemen, moderating this session is Encik Mohamed Zuraimy Yaakob, the Assistant Director I lead at KBS. Over to you, Encik Zuraimy.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Salam Malaysia Perhatian to all participants. My Digital Workforce Week Malaysia Tech Month 2021, MTN 21. Sesi petang ini dibawakan khas kepada anda oleh MDEC, Strategic Partner, Institute of Leadership Excellence and Development ILEAD, Kementerian Belia dan Sukan. Ladies and gentlemen, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, dalam era pandemik COVID-19, kita berhadapan norma baharu ataupun new norm in interview. Before this, kita amat familiar dengan konsep bersemuka ataupun face-to-face interview. But with this pandemic, kebanyakan majikan and job seeker memilih what we call as a remote interview. As the name suggests, remote interview ini adalah salah satu konsep cara ataupun method that are conducted without the candidate and interviewer berjumpa satu sama lain secara fizikal. They are geographically separated antara satu sama lain. The interview happens sama ada melalui voice call, FaceTime, or most often also included video conference and other tools like pre-recorded interview. With the need maintain physical distancing ataupun penjarakan fizikal, remote interview adalah tools yang paling popular, meaning we need to take practical steps untuk memastikan everything runs smoothly. Jadi, khusus bagi petang ini, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, mengenai preparing for remote interview. So, how do you conduct effective remote interviews? If you new to remote interviewing and want to improve this process, stay tuned. My name, Mohamed Zuraimy Yaakob. I'm your host for this afternoon. For all participants, sekiranya tuan-tuan dan puan-puan ada sebarang persoalan, tuan-tuan dan puan-puan boleh drop Q&A di Q&A column. To explain this topic, we bring you seorang tokoh korporat yang cukup hebat. Nama dia beri Mohamed Fitri bin Abdullah, Managing Director Oracle Malaysia Corporation, Sdn Bhd. Mr. Fitri Abdullah joined Oracle Corporation Malaysia Sdn Bhd on 18 August 2016. Tokoh hebat ini has nearly 3 decades of ICT industry experience, either local maupun international perspective. Within the last 18 years of this career, beliau memegang pelbagai senior leadership position dalam several companies such as Messina Berhad, Maxis Berhad and HP Sdn Bhd based in Malaysia. Antara jawatan beliau adalah he was the managing director of Messina Berhad. Yang kedua, he was with Maxis as a senior vice president and head of Maxis Business Services, where he was overall responsible for the corporate, government, SME and wholesale business for Maxis. At HP, his last position was as the Asian Regional Director for Communication Industry for HP's Consulting and System Integration Business Division. And prior to that, as the Overall Director for Southeast Asian for HP's Consulting and System Integration Business. Latar belakang pendidikan beliau pula cukup hebat. Mr. Fitri has a Bachelor of Science degrees in Computer Science from Indiana State University, a Master of Science degree in Computer Science from Arizona State University, and attended the Advanced Management Program from Harvard University School in 2011. Without wasting time, I would like to welcome Oracle Managing Director, Mr. Mohamed Fitri Abdullah. The session is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you Encik Zuraimy and also Encik Hasrul. First of all, Assalamualaikum, selamat petang, and a good afternoon to all attendees. My name is Fitri Abdullah. I'm the Managing Director for Oracle Malaysia. So first of all, thank you to all the organizers, MDEC, KBS, and all the rest, I think, for inviting me to share on this topic of preparing for remote interviews. As you know, for Oracle, we have closed our office for over 16 months. So we have not been able to go to our office for the last 16 months. And we are working everything digitally, closing order and, everything we do digitally, except some of our engineers, I think, have to go to the customer site to do some repair work or implementation. But other than that, everything is done digitally. So clearly, the world is changing, I think, to be more digital. And if you look at Malaysia perspective, we have come out in February of this year, the My Digital program, which is the digital blueprint, economic blueprint for Malaysia to make sure that Malaysia will be one of the leaders digitally going forward. And one of the key thrusts is on digital talent development. So in a sense, it's kind of tied down with the current topic here today. So I have a slide deck here. So maybe can somebody put up the slide deck that I wanted to share? So what I will do is I will share a bit about Oracle, the company Oracle, and we've been here over 33 years. The second part is I will also share with you what is happening in the industry, the ICT industry, because I'm coming from the IT industry. Then we will go into, what are the future jobs that will be available in the IT industry, and what then we go into the real topic of the interviews. Okay, so I hope you all can see the slide deck here. So first of all, I think Oracle Corporation, we are the second largest software company in the world. We've been established over 44 years ago. Our flagship product, the first product that Oracle came up with was our relational database. That was in US, and our first customer was the CIA. CIA was our first customer using our relational database. We are probably number 5 or number 6 in terms of the hyperscale cloud service provider in the world today. Revenue is about 40 billion US, and we were building up our product over the years. But the last 20 years, we've also acquired many companies, well-known companies like JD Edwards. We acquired PeopleSoft, which is the market leader for HR solution. We acquired Siebel, which is the market leader for CRM solution. We acquired BEA for their middleware. Sun Microsystem, the whole hardware system from Sun Microsystem is now a part of Oracle. And if you notice, Sun Microsystem was the one who came up with the Java programming. So now Java programming, in a sense, belongs to Oracle. Also, we acquired Primavera, Hyperion, NetSuite, and all the rest. So we've been here in Malaysia over 33 plus years in Malaysia. And our key customers, obviously our relational database is running in all major telcos, major banks, major government are all using our database. On the application side, I think if you look at Maybank using our financial system, RHB using our financial system, CIMB Bank using our financial system, PNB is using our unit trust system. So the ASB, ASN is all being managed by an Oracle FlexCube system. SME Bank is using our core banking system. And then if you look at Telecom Malaysia, the billing system is from Oracle. So those are some of the example customers, I think, that we implemented many, many years ago. I joined Oracle exactly 5 years ago. Today is my 5th year anniversary. And when I came in, and why I joined Oracle was 2 main reasons. One was Oracle was going to invest into Malaysia. So instead of just doing business in Malaysia, we were going to set up a regional hub in Kuala Lumpur to service 22 countries in Asia Pacific. So we started to invest in Malaysia in 2017. I think we hired over 100 people. 2019, we expanded. I think we hired a lot more technical people in 2019. And then just this year, when we started January this year, we also set up a financial hub to manage many countries in Asia Pacific with 94 jobs just came in. So overall, Right now in Oracle Malaysia, we have about close to about 600 people in Malaysia. Our main CSR from Oracle is actually through Oracle Academy. So what we do is we actually work very closely with the education institution. We got 74 members today, and we train the faculty members, and through them, we do training with the students. Just this morning, we just did a hackathon with UNIZA in Terengganu. That's a 2-week engagement that we are working with UNIZA, and through Oracle Academy, we make available free cloud accounts for the students and faculty members. So we are doing a hackathon for the next 2 weeks. There is a challenge for them to come up with some smart city-based solutions, and then we will do the judging and awards on the 31st of August. And then we will also do another hackathon with UITM beginning 1st September. So those are some of the engagement that we wanted to share what we are doing in terms of our sort of CSR. The other CSR is also through NetSuite, which we provide solution for SME in Malaysia, the financial system. So many, about 50, 60 SMEs in Malaysia are using our solution today. And what we do is we provide free finance cloud solutions for the non-profit organization like Mercy Malaysia and Malaysian Red Crescent. So just to share a bit on Oracle Corporation. Next slide, please. So if you look at the market today, what is happening in the ICT industry today is that with COVID, there is an acceleration of digital transformation projects that's been undertaken by customers, all the SME, enterprise, including the government. Because now you can't even service your customers face-to-face, so you have to do it all digitally. And also the new generation that's coming in, I think are all, they prefer to do all their transaction using the mobile phone. So there is that big push, I think, for digitalization to happen. At the same time, we got innovative technologies espoused by IR 4.0. So we are talking about IoT, machine learning, AI, big data, data science, blockchain. These are all new technologies that is enabling customers to as part of their digital transformation program. And because of COVID, this digital transformation will actually accelerate. And if you look at what is going to happen, I think by 2025, 56 to 60% of the IT budget, normally the big companies will have their own IT system, their own data center, and then they will run it all on their own. Now that will shift, that 50-60% of that budget will be towards the public cloud. So that is a major shift that's happening in the market today. And what I'm saying is that Malaysia, our talents, and even our current people working in the ICT industry needs to be aware of this big change that's happening, and they need to make sure that they are also adapting to all these changes to make sure that they are relevant going forward. Okay, next slide. So according to the World Economic Forum, and what they're saying, this is a report that came out in October 2020, so just maybe about 6 months after the COVID situation. And what they're saying is, I think on the left side are emerging jobs that will be coming out, new jobs that will be taking up a lot of the new jobs that's in the market. AI and machine learning specialists, data analysts and scientists, big data specialists, information security analysts, process automation, the list goes on. So this on the left are jobs that will flourish, I think, in the many, many years to come. But at the same time, on the right side, these are jobs that will go away due to automation. So I think what is important, I think, for all the job seekers, or even the current workforce, you need to make sure that you know what are the new jobs that's coming in. You need to also make sure that for each, like for AI, machine learning specialists, what are the skills that you will need to make sure that you can meet those requirements when those jobs are coming up. So I think it is important for all of us to be aware of this going forward. Next slide, please. This is also another report a bit earlier in the year, I think also from World Economic Forum. Again, I think it's showing, the jobs that's happening, I think, going forward and where the big growths are coming in. Care economy, sales marketing, data, AI, engineering, cloud computing. So those are quite similar to the one earlier that I shared. Okay, next one. So my side, I think there is this big shift that is happening in the market. It is important that we know about this big shift, and we need to prepare ourselves to make sure that all of us, I think the students that's coming out from the university, the current workforce, and also those who are planning to go into the workforce, they need to be made aware, where are these new jobs? What are the skills that is required to come up with those new jobs? And also important for the education institutions to prepare all the new graduates with all these necessary skills, mapping to all these new jobs coming out. Also, I think important, the education institutions should be engaging more with the industry to make sure that when the students are graduating, that the skills are what the industry is looking for, and probably a bit more on the applied research that should be happening in the market. One more concept that I would like to share that it is important is that the concept of continuous learning. Even myself, I'm in my mid-50s. So I've done, I've been working, I got maybe 2-3 years to retire, but I am also still learning. So it never stops. And if you are in the ICT industry, the changes are happening even faster. So all I would like to share is that I think when you go into the job scene, you need to have a mindset of continuous lifelong learning, and you need to be in charge of your whole career and career development. Don't look at your manager and your boss. You need to take care of that side, I think, going forward. Okay, so that's the first part that I'm just covering in terms of a bit on Oracle, the industry changes, and as part of a student and a workforce coming in, what you need to be prepared for going forward. Is there any questions so far for me? I think I just want to take a pause here. Any questions, Zuraimy? Any questions? I think might be a good time to ask based on what I've covered before I go into the remote interview section. I think, Zuraimy, you are on mute, I think. Okay, I think if there's no questions, then why don't we proceed to the next slide? Also, I think the last part I wanted to cover, I think these are important skills. I think going forward, people need to be tech savvy with the new skills, new technology, and everybody needs to be a bit more entrepreneurship, and then have a growth mindset, be flexible, adaptable. Change is constant, and then so you need to be agile, and then you need to have critical thinking and creativity. Okay, I think that's the last part that I wanted to share. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay, so if you look at the main topic for remote interviews, so if you look at remote interviews, so what is similar to a face-to-face interview? So normally, when you're looking, what happens is that there is a job posting somewhere. You send your cover letter, you send your CV, and then guess what? What happens is that the recruiter will go in and shortlist based on the skills, based on the role, and hopefully they will shortlist your name. Then they will then call you for a face-to-face interview. And what is similar to face-to-face interview and even a remote interview is that for you coming in to look for that job, I think it is important for you to do a research in terms of the company, what's the company doing, what's the focus area, and then what is the role all about, as much as you can. And then with the current internet today, with Google, you can find a lot of information about the company and the role. And sometimes when you do a good research and when you attend the interview, you can mention, wow, I know about your new product or your new project they have won. I think those comes in important, I think, when you are, during the interview, because the interviewer will see that, wow, you've done your research, you know a lot about the company. So those things are important. The other part is, I think you need to prepare, on your side, what are your strengths and your weaknesses, and then how can you, be able to articulate them going forward. So yang tu pun very important. And in the end, during the interview, I think you need to demonstrate you are self-motivated and willing to learn. Because as I said, I think even if you are a fresh graduate, you have an IT degree, you go and get your first job, whatever you learn, maybe only 30-40% is applicable. You go to the job scene, you will need to learn again. So your degree that you got, or your diploma, only proves that you can learn, given a time frame. So when you go into the job scene, guess what? You will need to also learn, and then going forward, you need to keep on learning as you move forward. So you need to show that you're positive and all that. And the other part is, the world has become so complex that in the end, when we do things, even for me in Oracle, I have a customer solution I want to do. Maybe 10 years ago, I called 2-3 people, enough. We can come up with the whole solution. But now the world has become so complex. For me to come up with the whole solution, I need to call 10 people. So everybody is a specialist. So it is important that going forward, that people need to be able to work in a team environment. So I think that is important. And then I think you need to demonstrate that during the interview process. Also do homework. What are the potential questions and answers that the interviewer may have? You need to listen attentively and also answer confidently. I think that's important. And sometimes for the interviewer, they will ask you scenarios. Okay, your project, your work, in college. Tell me what is the most complex thing and challenge that you had, and tell me the scenario and how did you overcome it. So all that you need to prepare. And also, normally during interviews, the interviewer may also ask for references, I think, to double check. So those are common areas, preparation for any interview, be it face-to-face or even through digitally, remotely. Okay, any questions so far? Okay, if not, I think we move on to the next slide. So what is different when we are doing a remote interview? So what we are saying is that now we will go through a remote interview either using Zoom, which is the platform today, or Microsoft Teams or WebEx or whatever it is. So first of all, I think you need to make sure that you are familiar with the virtual platform to make sure that you tak kekok sangat. I think when you go in and then you don't know what to press and mute, unmute, and all the stuff. So that is important. And then and you need to prepare your interview space. Make sure distraction free. There's no noise. Make sure the background is all okay, neat, not noisy, and all that. Have a good camera, microphone, stable internet. The last thing you need is disruption, and then it will be taken quite negatively, I think, for the whole session. And also connect a bit earlier, 5 minutes before the session. Hey, go there, even though maybe the interviewer hasn't opened up the meeting, but I think it's good habit to be there at least 5 minutes earlier. And during the session for the interview, turn on the video, look the interviewer into the eyes as if you are doing a face-to-face interview. Dress the part. I think now with the COVID, maybe smart casual, I think good enough. Maybe, that really depends on the role of the job. Be confident. And then also good part, I think, for the remote interview is that you can put your CV on the side, you can put sticky notes on potential questions, you have the answers. So that is probably an advantage compared to a face-to-face. You can't put all those things there. So those are some of the things that my view that is what you need to prepare for remote interviews. Yeah. Okay. Again, I will pause here for a while. Any questions? I think so far for me. Okay. I think if not, I think we go to the next slide. So for me, as Managing Director of Oracle Malaysia, I normally interview people coming into Oracle, normally more the senior roles. And normally what I do in my preparation is that I will get the CV, the resume. I will go through the list, experiences, education, I will write notes, and I will see the role that we are looking for, and then based on the past experience, is it a good fit for that person and that role? And then I will also look at the company, the person, the role, duration. Are they moving too fast? Maybe they are changing jobs every 1-2 years, may not be so positive. But maybe changing every 5 years might be positive because the person wants to move up and then learn new things. So all those things I will write down some notes. And then jot down the project, work experiences and technology. And then I'll prepare some questions for the interview session. And including, I may also ask some scenarios. In terms of, okay, I'll ask the person, okay, you did this project, that project. Tell me what was the most difficult part when you were involved in that project. Tell me the challenges, how did you overcome all that? I think, those things I will jot down. And then during the session, I will ask all those questions, I think, to the interviewee. And on my side, as an experienced senior leader, my number one criteria for choosing the candidate is number one is attitude. It is not experience. It is about attitude. Does the candidate have that positive attitude? Has that integrity? Is self-motivated and a team player? But what I'm saying is that, yes, the person needs to have that experience to make sure that the job fit is there. But in the end, when I interview, most likely it has been shortlisted. Probably my management team has gone through. So more than likely, those people, the job fit is there. So now I need to pick and choose the best in the list to make sure that we make that decision. And that decision is based on attitude. From my side, I think that's easy positive. Easy. Sometimes when I interview, the person is boastful. He wants to be the hero and all those things. So that again is my own criteria as an experienced manager interviewing people, which I'm sharing with the team. Also, I will write down in my summary, the positives from this interview, and also the potential gap, and also potential mitigation. And also important, I think, to make sure that I think the references are there, to make sure that we double check the person, and get that feedback, I think, from those referees. So those are just sharing with the team in terms of my experience being the interviewer. Okay. And then the last slide I wanted to share, I think we go to the last slide.
Mr. Fitri.
So actually, the last slide I want to share is that what if you are going for your first job? That means you are coming in from university, baru graduate, and then you want to land your first job. So I think it is important that number one is that you have the skills that is demanded by the industry. If, for example, you have a big data, Cloudera, Hadoop skills, Python, and all that, and that is in big demand by the industry, chances are you have a head up, I think, to get that job. Okay. Important also, I think, for students, I think, coming from university to do internship, so that I think you can show that you have that industry experience. And maybe also in your university, demonstrate some interesting projects that you have done, and maybe showcase, on your own, you go and sign up some new free cloud account, you develop certain things. All that I think is important, doing some part-time jobs, volunteering, all those are important. But at the same time, I think my experience has been, when you interview, I think the soft skills is very important. How do you carry yourself? When the interviewer asks you a question, how do you make sure that that you understand the question? So there's a language side, and also how do you conduct yourself confidently, and then and sometimes also to my advice to for the first job seekers, I have parents coming to me because I'm MD Oracle, kata, hey, my son, my nephew, Fitri wants a job in Oracle, right? I mean, so I say, okay, no problem. Get the resume, CV, and then, but I will pass it to HR. But again, the process will need to go through without my interference. So I think it's okay to get that connection, networking, just to make sure that you are, being given that chance to be seen and then get the interview process. But let the interview process, then, in the end, you still have to get the job on your own. So I think the days of your father pulling a string and then getting a job, I think is gone. But pulling a string to make sure that you have an opportunity to be shortlisted and then hopefully interviewed, but you have to do it on your own. I think those are my advice to the team. So then, Zuraimy, I think I'm finished. So any questions, I'm willing to take. Yeah.
Okay, sir, Fitri, can you hear me?
Yes, Zuraimy, yeah.
Okay, sorry, tadi ada a bit technical problem. So we have a few questions for you. First, with MCO, how to train fresh graduate or trainees from home?
Well, I think clearly, I think with COVID, it's all about e-learning, right? I think so I believe, I think universities, I think are better equipped, I think, to do their learning remotely. So my view is, I think it has to be done remotely using Zoom and all those things. And if you look at ICT per se, this is where the advantage of cloud will come in, because the cloud is already connected to the internet, so no issue. So you can do your lab work, everything on the lab, on the cloud, and I think that will happen. The shift, I think, for university to do your own lab, your own lab environment, and then normally your university lab, computing environment is backdated. So the view is, I think you need to adopt to cloud. And then just to let you know that in UNIZA, we just did the opening today for the hackathon. We are giving free accounts, cloud accounts, to all the students in UNIZA, because they are Oracle Academy partners. So my view, it has to be e-learning, collaboration, using all these tools going forward. Yeah. Okay, I think next question. Yeah.
So the next question is body language important for an interview and interviewer?
Yeah, I think coming back again, I think it's important to have that confident look. I think first of all, I think in any interview, don't bullshit. I think if you don't know, you don't know. Don't lie. I think that part is important. But you need to make it positive, lah. I mean, in the sense that you don't say I don't know whatever, but you have to go and say that, well, I've not had that experience, but guess what? This is the experience that I have, which is kind of similar, but not something that I've done directly. So I think those things. But I think important is the body language, the confidence, and then that you look like you're trustworthy. I think that's important. Obviously, in the face-to-face, I think is even more seen because you have to dress up and then you come in and all that stuff. But now remotely, a few things you can hide. But in the end, I think when you're doing an interview, is a one-to-one. So I think still important, I think, to show that focus and all that, and that body language. Yeah.
Okay, next question. Banyak soalan, Mr. Fitri. I think they are interested. Right. Would Oracle consider a video resume like most companies do now?
I think right now, probably, I don't know, some companies are doing that, but my view, I think we still, I prefer to go through the CV, let my managers do all the shortlisting, recruitments, and then in the end, I think for me as MD, I will do the final interview, and then maybe there are 2-3 candidates. So I like to have that face-to-face meeting. I think for the video one might be applicable, say if they are hiring fresh graduates banyak kan, maybe if they are going to hire 10-20, then I think that video site may work out well. I think for me, I think normally I interview more the senior position, so I would like to have that face-to-face conversation. Yeah.
So, Mr. Fitri, next question is about pre-recorded interview. Soalan dia, don't you think a pre-recorded interview is too one-sided? Because candidates are not given the opportunity to ask questions, and this results in only one-way communication. As such, the candidate is not given the chance to demonstrate his or her responsiveness and initiate the interview process. Can this one-way process be considered reliable?
So I think it really depends on the role. I think if again, if you are looking for maybe quite a lot of people to join you, then you have all the prepared questions, and then you ask the interviewer to do a pre-recorded and then all the answers. I think it's probably more the junior type of a role. I think maybe okay, but normally when I interview, one thing is my role is to do two things. One is to assess the person, is that the right person for the job? The second part is I need to also sell Oracle to the person. So for me, it is that is where I think the question is coming up, because I think normally in an interview session, there is a selling and buying in a sense, So on one side, yeah, I'm assessing you as a potential person to come in, but guess what? You also have a choice. That maybe, yeah, I don't want that job, right? But so I need to also show that, hey, why Oracle is the right company for that person to do. So I do agree that I think maybe for first level punya submission, that first level where you can have those questions and then the answer, I think is okay. But later on in the process, I believe a face-to-face where you have both dimension coming in, I think is important, because you need to both assess and also do some selling.
Okay. So the next question is, as a hiring manager or interviewer, will you be okay if the candidates question an issue of the company, or should they avoid?
Well, I mean, depends on the question. My view, I think it's also, I think you do your research about the company, and then if you have, I think what you want is obviously you're looking for the job. So I think the question that you ask should be positive. Can you share your strategy in this area, that area, and all that? So I think the question that you should ask, I think, should be progressive and positive. Or maybe you say that, hey, I'm not so clear on your strategy, the Oracle strategy going forward on cloud. I see you doing here like that. Can you clarify? So I think those things are important. So I think you can bring it up, but those questions you can bring up, but you need to bring it up in a positive light. Yeah.
Okay. I think there's much time. So the next question is, interviews are now either conducted remotely or virtually. How do you encourage or suggest individual to engage with interviewers on that platform?
Well, as I said, I think I've shared that. I think that you need to make sure that you are attentive. Whatever questions the interviewer asks, I think answer it confidently, and make sure you have the eye contact, and then hopefully I think it will be both ways. That you also can ask some questions to clarify and all that, and maybe a good idea also. I think in the end, when one thing positive about this virtual interview is that I think you have the email of the person interviewing you, right? So that could be also potentially a follow-up that you can you can go down and say, oh yeah, you need some reference and all that, let me come back to you. So that could be also a good trick for you to follow up. And then I've also what has happened is I've interviewed people and somebody connect me through LinkedIn as a follow-up. So I think, but don't overdo it. But so that you are macam apa ni macam you but do it professionally lah. I think that all those things are, I believe, positive. That I feel in the new digital era, most people are on LinkedIn, right? And then after you being interviewed, you can send a nice note, kata thank you for the interview, or I have a better understanding about the company. Given the chance, I would love to join your company and all that, but I know that you have that process to follow, which I'm fully aware of. All that, put it nicely. I think it's okay. Yeah.
The next question is, I think this one is much interesting. May I know in what scenario would movement between companies after 1 to 2 years be considered acceptable or reasonable?
Yeah, so my view is I think it's okay to move. Sometimes you go into company, the company doesn't do well, or the role is a misfit. I think it's okay. But you need to be able to explain in a positive way that why you move companies and all that. And then now with COVID, yeah, there's big explanation. If you are working for SME, a lot of SME are probably struggling. So all that, I think you need to share exactly why you made that change in a short time, but make it positive. Don't go and say, my boss, kurang ajar lah, all that side, all, don't go below the belt. Keep it positive, and don't go and say that, tak bayar gaji and all that. Just keep it positive. But at the same time, for me, when I'm going through the CV, what I don't want to see is that I see somebody every 1-2 years is changing jobs. In the last 10 years, the 5-6 jobs. Then it is a trend. But yeah, you have 1 or 2 young, that you go in and then, hey, maybe it didn't work out. Or guess what? Suddenly a bigger offer came in, and then the role has this interesting technology that you want to play in. So you went in, and then suddenly, wow, somebody offered you 30% more, blah blah blah, and then it's a bigger role and all that. I think just you can explain it, but make sure keep it all positive. Jangan go negative lah. Talk bad about people and the companies, man. Just keep it positive.
So I think maybe this is the 2 last question. How important is the communication skills for you to hire a candidate? in comparison to the criteria presented by yourself earlier?
Yeah, unfortunately, my view, it is important that when I ask a question, so the person needs to have that comprehension, that dia faham the soalan tu. So it is important that in a sense that that you have that comprehension side. I'm not so particular about whether you speak in good English or Malay, although I will have to be frank, the business world is all English.
Yeah.
So my advice to all the person is, I think is important to be good in English, but more importantly is your understanding. No? When somebody asks you a question, you understand, and then you are replying the right one. What we don't want is I'm asking a question, you're answering something else, then we have a problem. So I think language skills is important, so that when you're asking a question, I think you need to be able to understand. And my view, if your language skills is better, you have an advantage compared to if your language skills is not so good. But my side, I'm not so picky, but the comprehension skill, when I ask and then suddenly you don't get it, then my view, it becomes a problem for me. So I think it's important. So in the end, language skills is important so that you understand. But maybe your English, maybe not so perfect. I think that one not so important. But mainly, I think for me, some people are particular. For me, I'm not so particular. But I think more the meat, the facts. You understand what I'm talking about, and then you're answering the right thing. Although that maybe you're not so fluent, I'm not so particular. But some people are particular. Yeah.
Right. So I think that's included in our soft skill.
Yeah. So important for the soft skill, and then the confidence. Because in the end, I think it is for everybody, even for all of us. You need to be in charge of your own career and the skills in your development. Cannot wait for your managers. It is all about you. And the second part is, when you go for interview and all that, you need to be able to carry yourself. You need to be able to carry yourself. People ask question, answer. Kalau tak tahu. But guess what? I've done something similar. This, but cannot just keep quiet. I think you need to be able to carry yourself. Yeah.
So the next question is, are there any open or online resource in which one could know more and learn on online remote interview tips? Do you have any suggestions?
I think there's a ton of things. I think in the Google, you go and I think there was a lot of things there. So I would go in, and I'm sure YouTube pun ada juga. I think so. I think the world is all digitally connected. So I think there are a lot of best practices in the market. So I think go and do your research. And what I'm sharing today is from my own experience as an experienced manager, and also as a job seeker. I also have to go for interviews also, I think, in my life. And those are the learnings that I have. I think be positive, be attentive, but in the end, your CV, is also important to have a good CV, because I think to make sure that you are, you get into the short list is all your CV. So I think it's also important to maybe work with somebody to go through the CV to make sure that you don't lose out on the CV side. Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Fitri, last question. Do you think I will be blacklisted if I reject the job offer from the company?
I think it really depends on where you are in the process. So if you are shortlisted, and then before you take the job semua, and then say you got another job or you're staying on, I think it's okay. But the problem comes is you really agree to join, and then suddenly you don't show up, and then whatever it is, then it can become a problem. So normally what happens, I think the normal process is, okay, like you go CV, you get interviewed, shortlisted. Then normally they will come to you and say, hey, verbally, okay, we are ready to make you an offer, there's a price, blah, 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 and then you discuss, and then you agree or not agree. Kan? So, but once you agree, and then suddenly you change your mind, then it can be a problem. Depends on certain companies and all that. I think, and then especially the one that, to be honest, I already interviewed or job offered a client, and then verbally the person has committed, okay, Fitri, I decide I'm coming. Suddenly they change your mind. I take it negatively. I'm sorry. Tapi in that process yang shortlist, and then you are still mulling, because in the end, you as a person also can, you have a choice, right? So I think it's okay. Tapi bila you dah committed and then you made the promise, and then suddenly you don't show up, because sometimes your employer pula counter offer pula kan. Yang tu then ada sikit negatif lah. Because then there's a question, you coming in for this job just to make sure that you go back to your employer, show, hey, I got this offer, and then I get a better pay there. You can do that once or twice. But after a while, the market will know that, hey, you are doing this all the time lah. Then orang pun macam blacklist you. Yeah. So that's my experience.
Thank you, Mr.
I think
Fitri.
once in a while, okay, for good reason. But if you do it too often, then I think it becomes a problem.
I think that's all for all this question, and you answer very greatly. So, kata-kata terakhir, Mr. Fitri, untuk mereka yang nak cari kerja, yang maybe first graduated, yang perlukan betul-betul daripada sifu, bagi saya ni tokoh ni. So, apa kata-kata last kesimpulan yang Mr. Fitri can give to them?
Yeah, I think in the end, I think I'm from the ICT industry, kan? And a lot of the ICT industry people are techie, kan? So they go, maybe they can do good programming and all that. But in the end, I think you need to have the soft skills also. Because guess what, you need to communicate, because you are in a teaming, you have to work in a team environment. And because you have to work in teams, I'm doing this, that, and all that, you need that communication skill. So don't think that you're doing ICT, hey, I just do my programming, I don't need to communicate. Guess what? No, you need to communicate. So my view is, I think you need to push yourself to make sure that, hey, I can communicate well, my soft skills, so that, because it is going to be a team environment going forward. So those are the things that, because I've had experience where I interview quite a lot of people. I think, in fact, quite a few graduates, technically brilliant, tapi communication skills were very poor. But they joined me, I think, and guess what? But what I saw was, during the working experience, they were pushing themselves to bring up their soft skills. And then now some of them, I think, wow, project manager, they present all well. So my view that even though you're from the technical side, and then you think, hey, I tak payah soft skills, man. No, I think you need to make sure you have that soft skill. Because when you work, you need to communicate with your peers and all that. So those are the things that I would like to share. And then, as I said, the Malaysian workforce, the students, my view is terlampau manja. Terlampau manja, meaning that waiting for somebody to tell them what to do. No. You need to be in charge of your own career. So you need to go and learn and then have that initiative. There's so many things you can learn from the internet. A lot of new things you can do and all that is all here. I think, so my view is, I think you need to be self-sufficient. and then find out, scan the market, apa dia, somebody is doing something great, show me how you do it, and then you get connected. So all that I think is available. I think so don't wait for your cikgu, your parents to tell you what to do. You need to be pushing on your own. Okay, I think that's all.
Okay, thank you Mr. Fitri. I think daripada sejam tadi banyak sangat nasihat dan advice daripada tokoh yang hebat ini. Yang paling saya ingat adalah konsep of continuous lifelong learning.
Yeah.
Saya rasa bukan sahaja untuk ICT tapi untuk mana-mana bidang. This is very important because we are not in the same age, not in the same terms. Everything akan berubah lagi-lagi apabila kita berada dalam pandemic COVID ini. So I think this is a brilliant sharing moment from Mr. Mohamed Fitri. Thank you, sir, for having.
Thank you, Zuraimy. Thank you for the organizers, and wish all the attendees good luck in going forward. Thank you very much.
So thank you to all the participants for taking time out for this afternoon session. My heartfelt thanks to Mr. Fitri for the very rewarding partnership. And with that, see you in the future. Stay safe. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay.
Waalaikumsalam. Terima kasih Cik Zuraimy dan juga Cik Mohd Abdullah for that interesting presentation and discussion on remote interviews. Of course, that one golden nugget from Cik Fitri was the continuous lifelong learning, not just in the digital world, but also in the soft skills. Some organizations not only interview remotely, but also they will be working remotely as per their business as usual day-to-day operations. So thank you again, gentlemen. Terima kasih. Okay, stay safe. We will now be moving forward to the next session of the day. It will begin very shortly. So attendees, do click join session and complete the survey for each of the sessions for us to continuously serve you better. And also do visit the My Digital Workforce Week at mydigitalworkforceweek.my, where we have 5,000 jobs available from 100 companies across industry. For more information, the details are included in the comment section on the right. Our next session will be how do I choose the right digital skills and digital courses for me or my employees. See you in a bit.